This video is presented by LaExcellence IAS Academy.
Hello everyone, welcome to LaExcellence IAS. In this video, we are going to discuss the strategy session for test number 6 of Ex Shiksha. So if you see this program batch 1 has already started and we are planning to come up with batch 2 soon. So those of you who are interested can contact the number which is available on the screen. And going into this week's schedule, that is the week from 24th of August to 28th of August, you need to study the syllabus which is given, especially the syllabus for the test number 6 is focuses mainly on medieval India and parts of art and culture. So if you see this part of the syllabus for your examination, it plays a very crucial role in your GS paper 1 of mains where art and culture plays a predominant role. When it comes to preliminary examination, we will be getting some basics of arts and architecture in prelims question also, and from medieval India we will be getting 2 to 3 questions minimum. So to answer this aspect you need to prepare also in a better manner. So going into the test happens on 29th of August, that is Tuesday, that is a mains test, followed by on 30th August we will be having the preliminary test for this program. And going into the syllabus component, if you see the syllabus, this medieval history mainly consists of various topics such as tripartite struggle, Chola Empire, Turkish conquest of India, Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori, Rajput states, Delhi Sultanate, Mughal Empire, Maratha Confederacy, Southern dynasties, then Bhakti and Sufi movement. In this particular aspect of the syllabus, from the examination perspective, if you see, some topics actually plays a very crucial role for your prelims as well as mains examination syllabus. So even UPSC asks lot of questions from a few selective topics from medieval India and art and culture repetitively in the last 2 to 3 years in the examination, which we will be also discussing in this video based on the UPSC trend analysis. But if you see the topics which has been listed for this test number 6, you need to focus majorly on Chola Empire, because with respect to this, even the art and architectural contribution of Chola Empire, questions can be expected in mains examination. And then going into the other topics of the syllabus, you need to give maximum focus on the socio-religious reform movement such as Bhakti movement and Sufi movement. Here we can expect questions in preliminary examination as well as in mains examination. And then going into the other syllabus part of the test, that is from the art and culture. In the art and culture, we have syllabus component, architectures and sculptures, religion and philosophy, Indian painting, music, dance, theatre and cinema, Indian language and literature, arts and crafts, science and technology in ancient India, then Indo-Islamic culture. With respect to this part of the syllabus, you know very well, art and culture plays a very crucial segment in your GS paper 1 segment. That is for preliminary segment. But when it comes to mains examination, the questions from art and culture focuses majorly on the architectural aspect rather than on the art forms. But some questions out of the 3 questions which are coming in the art and culture segment in mains examination, one question will come from apart from the architectural aspect, that is question will be picked from the art aspect. So you need to cover all this when you prepare for this exam. And going into the most important topic for this component of the syllabus, you need to give maximum attention to the architectural segment, because this architecture is something which is going to be very much common for your prelims syllabus as well as for the main syllabus. So questions can be expected from both the stages of exam from architectural segment. Then going into the preliminary examination exclusively, you need to prepare in a well refined manner on the dances. When you study the dances, the maximum attention can be given to the classical dances of India. And with respect to music here, you need to study the various types of music such as Hindustan music, Carnatic music, and as well as the various schools related to the music, especially the North Indian and South Indian types of various music forms should be studied in a clear manner, because we can expect here questions in the preliminary examination with respect to the various types of musics. Then going into the literature aspect here, when you study this component of the syllabus, here questions can be expected in your preliminary examination. And in mains examination, in the last test only, we have covered on the basics of Sangam literature, which can again be asked in the literature component also. Then going into the remaining part here, Indo-Islamic culture, again this is going to be very much important for your mains GS paper 1 art and cultural segment, because Indo-Islamic culture you need to study the architectural buildings which has been built by the Mughal kings, as well as the important contributions of Mughal especially their architecture to India. So you need to focus on this segment. So while reading the art and culture segment, what we generally advise the students to focus upon is here is the architecture should be given the maximum focus. After that, when you find time, go for preparing on musics and the various types of dances as well as the literature aspect. Now going into the current affairs component, you know very well in every LAEX Shiksha test we have 100 questions for preliminary examination, and out of these 100 questions 25 questions are picked exclusively from your current affairs of LAEX Spark magazine, and syllabus for this test is you need to study the LAEX Spark magazine of March month 2023. Here kindly focus on the most important topics especially related to polity and governance, art and culture and history, and then government schemes and programs. So while reading here, give maximum attention to the government schemes which were in news in the March month. From there again a questions can be expected for this year examination also. Now going into the sources which you need to refer for this various part of the syllabus component is here is you need to study old NCERT as well as new NCERT. Now to give a clarity to the students who are preparing for this UPSC examination, what we wanted to tell you very clearly is that when you prepare even the history segment, give maximum attention, that is 85 to 90% on the new NCERTs. Once the new NCERTs are well prepared, then you give time for the old NCERTs. Now going into the new NCERTs, here our past 2 is going to be very much crucial because it's a 7th standard NCERT. It contains the basic concepts related to socio-religious reform movement, where UPSC has asked lot of questions related to prelims in the past. And when it comes to themes in Indian history, that is part 2. This is the 12th standard book. Here again in this new NCERT, when you read it, you need to give maximum attention to the terminologies which are used in the book, because UPSC has plenty of times has asked preliminary questions related to these terminologies. For your reference, we have attached some questions which has been asked from these themes in Indian history part 2 in the past in UPSC prelims. So we will discuss that also at the end of this video. And going into the art and culture segment, again the new NCERT is going to play a crucial role here. So give your maximum attention to introduction to Indian art and living craft traditions. If you find time, you read it. Otherwise, what we generally want to say is give your maximum attention in art and culture for this one NCERT, that is 11th standard NCERT, Introduction to Indian Art. Now we will see all these NCERTs one by one, even including the old NCERTs. Yes, going into the old NCERT which we have referred for this medieval India segment is the 12th standard old NCERT written by Satish Chandra. And here while reading this particular aspect of the book, you don't need to read all the chapters initially. What we advise is focus on the most important chapters at the first reading. Then after that, when you find some extra time, then you give maximum attention to the remaining chapters. So during the first reading, what we generally advise our students who are preparing for this component of the test is give your maximum attention to chapter 3, because it talks exclusively about Chola Empire. While reading the Chola Empire, prepare this part of the syllabus in a manner that it will be useful for your art and cultural segment of GS paper 1. Because again UPSC may ask you about the architectural segment when it comes to mains examination. So read this in a clear manner such that your notes making should be prepared in a manner which comes handy for the mains examination. Now going into the remaining part of the chapter in this book, here again if you see, the most important chapters which you need to focus are the age of Vijayanagara Empire, Bahmanis, and the coming of Portuguese. Here give maximum attention to the Vijayanagara Empire and their architectural contribution. Here again questions can be expected from preliminary examination as well as mains examination. And going into the remaining part of the syllabus, you need to focus on the cultural development in India. Here the movements such as Bhakti movement, Sufi movement, Chishti movement, and then Vaishnavite movement, as well as they have given the list of fine arts and literature which has been contributed by these kingdoms. This is going to be very, very important for your prelims as well as mains examination. So kindly give maximum attention and do proper notes making when it comes to socio-religious reform movement. And UPSC has asked in the interview also questions related to the socio-religious reform movement. So give nice attention and try to make sure that you understand the concept in a clear manner, and try to prepare your notes in a point-wise format so that it will be handy for you when you come and write the mains based questions. Now going into the other aspect of the chapters, you need to focus upon the culture and religious development of chapter number 17. Here when you read, you need to give maximum attention to architecture and the paintings which has been specifically mentioned in this part of the chapter. So after covering all this, then you can cover the remaining chapters. So what we advise is the 4 chapters which we have listed here is the Chola Empire, Vijayanagara Empire, socio-religious reform movement, as well as the cultural and religious developments which happened during this Mughal Empire. So give this preparation in such a manner that you focus on the most important chapters, such that notes are always ready with you. Then you can give attention to the remaining chapters. Now going into the our past 2, that is the 7th standard NCERT. As I said before, here the most important chapter is the chapter number 6, devotional paths to the divine. This is going to be very much important because it will contain the important concepts related to again socio-religious reform movement. It will be like a revision because in the old NCERT also you have studied in detail about socio-religious reform movement, but in this new NCERT have a read and try to write notes making related to this chapter in a manner that what are the other value additions related to the socio-religious reform movement can be covered from this book. Now going into the themes in Indian history, again this is the 12th standard NCERT I was talking about. In this particular book, give maximum attention to the Bhakti and Sufi traditions because this is again going to be crucial. As I keep saying, questions related to Bhakti and Sufi movement or socio-religious reform movement is not only asked in prelims and mains, also at the interview stage. So prepare in such a manner that you have a very good clarity of the varieties of Bhakti and Sufi movements which happened across India and the sequence of these movements and its impact on the people. So these are some things UPSC will always feel like asking questions. So you need to focus in such a manner that you give maximum revision to the socio-religious reform movement, then focus on the other chapters. And going into the introduction to Indian art, this is related to the art and culture. This is the most important book and one ready-made book from NCERT side to prepare for your art and cultural segment. This complete book is going to be very much useful for your mains preparation. And when it comes to prelims preparation, again we can expect some questions related to the Indo-Islamic architecture, that is chapter number 8. So go through that and then read all the other chapters also. And going into the another book for art and culture which we have referred for this syllabus component is Living Craft Traditions of India. With respect to the coverage of the syllabus and other components, this book role is very limited. Still, why we have included this as part of our reference book for this test is that UPSC in the past has asked 1 or 2 questions in only preliminary examination from this book. So what you need to do is, for the preliminary exam, you can prepare notes, especially for the chapters on local architecture, because this is one important chapter from the book. Have a look at this chapter, then you can give maximum attention to the introduction to Indian art book rather than on this book. This book is going to play important role only for preliminary examination. Now going to the notes making process, this is going to be very important process when you come and get prepared for this test. Here while making the notes, make sure the notes are very simple and it should be written in a point-wise format. While making the points, make sure when you prepare on the art and cultural segment, always if you bring in diagrams in your answer, you are going to make an extra impact to the examiner. So make sure that you collect the important diagrams which has been given in NCERT itself and go through the various toppers, UPSC toppers answers who have written in the past, collect the diagrams from their test papers and notes also. And try to make use of always the time period in your history answers and as well as the use of kingdoms and their dynasties, who are the king which contributed to a particular architecture can always be quoted in your answer to fetch extra marks. And the current affairs update, here we talk about the UNESCO World Heritage Sites and other updates related to art and culture can also be included in your conclusion aspect to get more marks. Now going into the UPSC trend analysis for the last 2 to 3 years, if you see here, some of the important topics which UPSC has picked questions is on especially the Chola Empire, and they have also asked a lot of questions on socio-religious reform movements. And with respect to architectural segment, plenty of questions I have covered not only from Hindu architecture as well as the Indo-Islamic architecture. So give your focus in such a manner that you cover all this aspect. Even last year, if you see, UPSC has asked a question on, especially from current affairs segment, the lion and bull figures. This has also been mentioned in your 11th standard introduction to Indian art and culture book. So go through that and use those points which has been mentioned in the NCERTs mandatorily in your answer. And some other important areas where UPSC has asked a question is also on Pala period, especially the impact of Buddhism, and then the rock cut architecture. So give attention in such a manner that you are well prepared on Chola Empire, Vijayanagara Empire, socio-religious reform movement, and the important architectural contributions. While preparing the architectural contributions, that 11th standard introduction to Indian art is the best book which you can use for your art and cultural segment. Now going into some of the UPSC preliminary questions which has been picked in the past. If you see here, in medieval India, the term phanom referred to. This is a question which has been picked directly from your themes in Indian history part 2. That is the 12th standard book which we have showed in this video. So make use of the book in an effective manner, because in preliminary examination, questions like this keeps coming repeatedly in the last 2 to 3 years, and UPSC always tend to ask these questions from the NCERT itself. So make sure that when you prepare on the notes making only, this terminology list you keep it in a separate manner so that you revise well and come for the test. And another area where UPSC has asked a question is also on the kingdoms and the dynasties. So keep focus on reading the various dynasty cities which has been created during the Mughal era, the kingdom as well as the king and their policies. So try to make sure that you give maximum attention to the order of these kingdoms also. Now going into the toppers answer copy analysis, this is going to be very much important, because in art and culture, when you present your answer, you should make sure that your answers are as much as possible, it's done in a pictographic form. If you see here, this particular topper, yes, there is a visible diagram. Whenever you bring in a diagram, there is always a chance of you to fetch at least half mark to 1 mark extra for every diagram you are bringing in the answer. That is the main reason why we keep telling students to bring in diagrams not only for geography questions as well as for history and art and culture segment, because this is something is going to make your answers very unique. And if you see the toppers copy analysis over the years, even this particular topper, that is All India rank 13, Vidushi Singh. So what she has done is, in her answers, she has given an introduction which is a very much relevant as well as to the point which is asked in the question. And always make sure whenever you write an introduction, it should be short and crisp and always to the demand of the question asked. And the conclusion should also be written in a manner such that it is related to the current affairs aspect which happens, which you come across related to the topic. When you write the main body of the answer, always make sure the usage of examples in your answer is going to fetch you extra marks in the exam. And we keep telling the students that whatever like important things you are addressing the question, make sure the body of the answer is always written in a point-wise format. Try to bring in numberings to your points rather than creating any designs, because it will convey to the examiner very clearly. For a 10-marker question, if you could contribute 7 to 10 points to your answer, then that means the examiner has no other option other than to give you more marks to your answers. That is the reason you try to contribute as much as points in the body of answer, and always try to include examples which we have been telling to the students in our mentorship also. So try to do this and make sure that your notes making is very effective when you keep preparing. So these are the some of the things we wanted to discuss as part of strategy video for your LAEX test number 6. So I hope this video was very much useful to you. So keep preparing along these lines, and if you have any doubts, you can always approach us. Thank you, and we will meet you in the test. Thank you, friends.